room. There's lots of wonderful things to do. There's singing and there's instruments too. There's me and you. Find Ringo where he ran off to. Washington Lands is the best school. The people here are really cool. Mr. Lambie's Music Room.
Hello, Washington Lands. Mr. Lambie here, and I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful holiday. To kick off Mr. Lambie's Music Room today, we have a very, very special guest to talk about the top 10 self-care tips. Please welcome the one and only Mrs. Tucker. Hey, Mrs. Tucker, how are you doing?
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Good. Thank you so much for coming on. All right, so Mrs. Tucker, tell us a little bit about what you're going to be talking to us all about today.
Sure. I would like everyone to give themselves the best gift this year, and it's self-care. And self-care are those things that we do on purpose to take great care of ourselves.
We're going to talk about the top 10 self-care tips today.
We are, definitely.
All right, so Mrs. Tucker, why don't you tell us about self-care tip number 1?
So self-care tip number 1 is be kind to yourself by letting yourself feel different emotions. There's no right or wrong way to feel. Some days we're really angry, some days we might be sad, some days are happy. But the best thing to do is to be kind and say, it's okay that I feel this way. Maybe tell an adult to make it easier.
Now, number 2 I know is really special because we tried some of these things together earlier, and I feel great now.
So our second tip is finding ways to show our feelings, things we can do to let our feelings out.
And we tried some of these activities earlier, like painting. We also did some reading together. And finally, though we have different tastes, we listened to some music. I really enjoyed those activities we got to do together earlier, Mrs. Tucker. Now, tell us a little bit about self-care tip number 3.
Self-care tip number 3 is a physical health activity, and that involves good fuel, giving ourselves healthy foods and lots of water.
Oh, good. And Mrs. Tucker was helping me earlier to make healthy eating choices and drink lots of water. Take a look. Hey, thanks. I definitely feel better when I'm drinking water and eating well. Now tell us a little bit about self-care tip number 4.
Self-care tip number 4 is to move. Any type of movement, something we enjoy, but to be active.
Oh, definitely. And we took some time to be active earlier today and play some football. And man, Mrs. Tucker has an incredible arm. Take a look.
Go on.
All right, tell us about self-care tip number 5.
Tip number 5 is another thing we do physically to care for our bodies. Sleep. We all need to recharge and rejuvenate. We need lots of sleep.
I agree. I love to sleep.
Lambie, back to work.
All right, now Mrs. Tucker, what is our self-care tip number 6?
Step number 6 has been a little tricky for some of us this year. It's to connect with others in whatever way we can. We need to connect.
I agree, and I got to connect with you today, and that makes me feel awesome. I like people, and I like connecting with people, and we found some really unique ways to connect. Take a look. Hey, how's the weather over there?
It's great, really cozy. How about over there?
The weather over here is groovy. All right, Mrs. Tucker, tell us a little bit about tips 7 and 8.
Those tips I think our students are familiar with from doing Mind Up, but 7 and 8 involve being mindful and paying attention to the here and now and trying to be grateful and keep in mind gratitude, things that are going well for us.
Absolutely. There's a lot for us to be thankful for. And I'm thankful for the time we spent together earlier doing some meditation. Take a look. Now, Mrs. Tucker, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to tell us about tips 9 and 10.
Tip 9, Mr. Lambie, involves positive self-talk, and that's kind of something we've worked on as a school with our growth mindset, giving ourselves good messages. I can't do this yet, but I will be able to. And last but not least, step 10 is having a consistent routine. Even when we're home, it's great to have a schedule to keep us up and going.
Well, Mrs. Tucker, I really, really appreciate you joining us here on Mr. Lambie's Music Room.
Thanks so much for having me. I think we made some good self-care deposits today.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to try some of these in my life so I can feel better. Let's hear it one more time for Mrs. Tucker.
Mr. Lambie's Music Room, there's lots of wonderful things to do. There's singing and there's instruments too. There's me and you. Find Ringo where he ran off to. Washington Lands is the best school. The people here are really cool. Mr.